Persuasion. How to close the deal and get more clients when you're not a salesperson without selling your soul. Episode 2. Leave your emotions at the door. People will say no. It's not personal. Hi, this is Charlie Burtz for doitbythehour.com, and I'm a freelancer just like you. A person in an emotional state is unreasonable by definition. In fact, while it's possible for reason and emotion to share the driver's seat, it's a rare and uncomfortable event. Besides, the seatbelt never quite seems to fit. As a result, we tend to operate based on either emotion or reason, depending on how we're feeling at the moment. When emotions are doing the driving, it tends to be a little hard on the insurance rates. We get angry or we cry, we're too impatient, or we're so sullen as to be useless. These are just a few examples, of course, and they're of a more negative variety. We experience positive emotions as well, but they can equally leave us unbalanced and not in our most reasonable state. If you've ever been in love, this needs no further explanation. When you're focused on persuading another person to agree with your request or point of view, you have two sets of reactions that contribute to the outcome, yours and your counterparts. If either of you are off balance, it would make even normal conversation difficult. Add the implicit pressure of trying to convince someone to agree with you, and the potential for sparks is even higher. It doesn't stop with these two sets of emotions, however. They also combine and create an atmosphere in the room which can be as palpable as a heavy fog and about as easy to navigate. This combination is far more complex than the simple numbers you dealt with in your high school math class, but there is a form of arithmetic nonetheless. Two negative people make for a negative vibe. A positive person isn't guaranteed to turn around their opposite, but the potential exists. Naturally, two happy people make for the best conditions.
Tired of having to work for almost nothing on gig sites? Do It by the Hour lets you take control of your rates and your career with project management, automated invoicing, payment processing, and client acquisition tools. Get started for free on doitbythehour.com.
There are sales organizations who intentionally manipulate the emotional state of their targets as a way to gain control and make the sale. I once knew someone who worked for a dating service. This was back in ancient times before there were websites for such things. In fact, the backroom computer probably occupied the entire back room. It was a very predatory operation, charging thousands of dollars. His description of how they would attack and twist the emotions of lonely and vulnerable people brought on an emotional response in me as well. I wanted to stuff him in the nearest trash bin. While I obviously don't think much about that approach to persuasion, it's important to keep in mind that not everyone on the planet is a good guy. There are many people who will intentionally try to get you angry or wound up into some other state so they can more easily control you. If you're aware of the tactic, you're less likely to be sucked in by it. Most people in the business world don't want to know anything about sales to begin with. They certainly have no desire to sink into the gutter in order to accomplish their objectives. Fortunately, it's not at all necessary. You'll do your best work when you and the people you're speaking with are in a reasonable rather than emotional state. With that in mind, it's important to be aware of everyone's emotions, especially your own. If you feel yourself losing control, you're no longer effective and can be easily manipulated yourself. The key to keeping the situation positive and practical is to avoid letting things get personal. I once worked with a group of pretty strong-willed programmers, which is not exactly an endangered species. They were all very bright, and in any given meeting, there might be several good ideas. The conversations were often intense, as everyone was passionate about the project. Even so, we consistently had productive meetings because we had a golden rule to which we adhered. Attack the idea, never the person. By keeping that one simple rule in mind and reminding others on occasion when they veered a little too close to the edge, we kept the conversation within the domain of reason. In your dealings with others, you won't always have a consensus on that rule, but you can certainly play by it yourself. You can also use it to gently steer the conversation when you see others either taking things personally or gearing up to attack someone on that level. In all of your dealings, do your best to keep things friendly and cordial, while making sure that reason does the driving. If emotions reach for the wheel, a well-placed elbow can often do the trick. If you enjoyed this and need a voice actor for your next project, I'm available. Just search for Charlie Burtz on doitbythehour.com.